The way we deal with sadness defines how we will live in an increasingly positive society. Sadness and suffering are often seen as factors to be avoided so that we can live well. Because of this, we struggle to deal with frustrating events or don't know how to react when sadness clouds our sunny days. It is essential to consider that the world is complex and reality is multifaceted. Human beings, as active participants in the relationships around them, face situations that demand varied responses. That's why Inside Out is an important work. This 2015 Pixar film tells the story of Riley, an 11-year-old girl who moves from Minnesota to San Francisco for her father's job. Riley's life is shown from two perspectives, an external one, where she interacts with friends and family, and an internal one, where her emotions are personified by 5 characters: joy, sadness, disgust, fear, and anger. Each represents a fundamental emotion in Riley's life. From the beginning, the film shows that Riley's birth is marked by the emergence of emotions, which control the brain. The memories are represented as spheres stored in a vast database, and some of them are base memories that define Riley's personality. Joy coordinates Riley's brain center, making it seem like happiness is the most important thing. All of Riley's personality islands were formed by happy moments, and Joy tries to suppress sadness, acting selfishly by preventing her from acting without her permission. This internal conflict results in the expulsion of joy and sadness from the brain's command center, leading anger, fear, and disgust in control. Without joy, others are lost and respond in unpleasant ways. The film suggests that if we let joy rule everything, our emotions will become uncoordinated when joy is missing. The dynamics shown in Inside Out reflect a deep aspect of human psychology. Joy, which constantly tries to suppress sadness, represents the modern tendency to seek constant happiness and avoid negative emotions. When joy and sadness are expelled from the command center, it symbolizes the loss of emotional balance. The absence of joy leaves anger, fear, and disgust in a position of control that they do not know how to manage effectively. Anger, fear, and disgust do not have the necessary skills to deal with the emotional complexity that joy and sadness together can manage. Anger tends to react explosively, fear becomes paralyzed or makes decisions based on avoiding risks, and disgust moves away from anything he finds disgusting. These reactions, alone, fail to adequately meet Riley's emotional needs, leading her to dysfunctional behaviors. The film's message is clear: the relentless pursuit of happiness and the repression of negative emotions create a dangerous imbalance. At a critical moment, Riley tries to run away from home, unable to deal with her conflicting emotions. This attempt to escape represents a cry for help, a manifestation of his inability to process the complex feelings resulting from change and longing. This fictional scenario leads us to reflect on how we deal with our own emotions. Modern society often promotes an unrealistic vision of ongoing happiness, which can lead to the repression of emotions such as sadness, fear, and anger. This repression does not eliminate these emotions; on the contrary, they continue to exist and can emerge uncontrollably in times of crisis. Balancing joy with other emotions is crucial for emotional well-being. Sadness, for example, plays a vital role in empathy and connecting with others. In the film, significant moments of understanding and support emerge when Riley finally expresses her sadness, allowing her parents to understand what she is going through and support her. Emotional balance allows for a more adaptive and resilient response to life's challenges. When we recognize and accept all our emotions, not just joy, we become more prepared to face difficult situations in a healthy way. This includes allowing ourselves to feel sadness, which, although uncomfortable, can be transformative and essential for personal growth. The plot also shows Riley's personality islands being destroyed and forgotten, becoming colorless, reflecting externally in the animation. The beauty of the film is in showing that a happy memory was driven by a sad moment, highlighting the importance of family in the formation and development of people. Riley's personality crisis occurs in one day, shaking everything she has experienced in 11 years. As Jeffrey Young argues, temperament partly determines how the individual identifies and develops, with family being the most fundamental interaction. Just as Riley had difficulty processing change, developing children face similar situations. The film shows that Riley's personality is upgraded by sad circumstances, followed by happy times with his family. Crying, as Sadness explains in the film, helps to calm down and cope with problems, relieving internal pressure. Riley's difficulty coping with moving from her hometown to a new environment exemplifies a common challenge faced by many developing children. Significant transitions, such as changing schools, losing friends, or facing family conflict, can be difficult to process. These experiences often bring up intense feelings of loss, longing, and insecurity. The film portrays this powerfully, showing how Riley's personality, formed by happy and sad memories, is continually shaped and updated as she experiences new challenges and triumphs. When Riley faces difficult times, such as missing her old life in Minnesota, these negative emotions initially seem to shake her to her core. However, the film underlines that these sad experiences also play a crucial role in her identity formation. It is at the intersection of sadness and joy that Riley finds true understanding and emotional connection with her family. This is illustrated in the film when sad moments are followed by moments of family support and affection, showing that overcoming adversity is often facilitated by the emotional support of loved ones. The role of crying, clearly explained by the character Tristeza, is a fundamental element in this process. Crying is not just an expression of pain or sadness, but a natural and healthy response that helps regulate emotions. Sadness explains that crying helps to calm and cope with problems, relieving accumulated internal pressure. This physiological and emotional mechanism allows Riley, and anyone, to process their emotions more effectively, preventing negative feelings from accumulating and resulting in larger crises. If sadness is not accepted, it can lead to a poorly adjusted personality. We build our beliefs about ourselves and our relationships throughout childhood and adolescence. Ecclesiastes reminds us that there is a time for everything, including crying. Ignoring this can lead to personality crises. Protecting children from all pain and suffering will leave them unprepared for real life. Modern society preaches unattainable emotional prosperity, where constant joy is seen as the goal. Ignoring problems doesn't make them go away. We need to stop to suffer, feel the pain, and cry. The false strength of ignoring problems only increases their consequences in the future. We must face reality head-on and deal with our emotions, recognizing our limitation and dependence on divine grace. Francis Schaeffer argues that the basic psychological problem is trying to be what we are not. Facing reality, accepting pain, and leaving it at the feet of Christ is essential. Ignoring suffering is easy in the short term, but harmful in the long term. We must have the courage to face our problems and give new meaning to the pain. True strength lies in recognizing our weakness and depending on the Creator. Facing suffering makes us more like Christ, and the joy we experience now is a glimpse of eternal joy. Inside Out reminds us that suffering is part of life and prepares us for eternity. Francis Schaeffer, an influential theologian and philosopher, argues that humanity's fundamental psychological problem lies in trying to be something we are not. This constant effort to appear to have strength and resilience that we do not possess is a form of denial of our true nature. Schaeffer argues that true mental and spiritual health can only be achieved when we accept our vulnerability and present ourselves as we really are, fallible beings in need of God's grace. Accepting the reality of our pain and suffering, rather than ignoring it, is crucial to our emotional and spiritual growth. Facing pain head-on and entrusting it to the care of Christ is an act of courage and faith. This process of surrender allows us to be truly healed and transformed. Ignoring or repressing suffering may provide temporary relief, but in the long term, this strategy is harmful, as untreated wounds tend to deepen and complicate our emotional health. The courage to face our problems honestly and directly is essential for giving new meaning to pain. By recognizing our weaknesses and limitations, we learn to trust God more fully. Schaeffer highlights that true strength is not in self-reliance, but in dependence on our Creator. When we admit our inability to handle everything on our own and seek divine help, we find genuine strength that sustains and guides us. Facing suffering brings us closer to Christ, who is known as the suffering servant. He himself experienced human pain and anguish, and by following his example, we are shaped to become more like him. This identification with Christ and suffering offers us a transformative perspective. We understand that the pains of this life are not in vain, but part of a greater process of purification and preparation for eternity. The joy we experience now, however brief and incomplete, is a glimpse of the full and eternal joy that awaits us. Inside Out is a work that brilliantly illustrates these truths. The film reminds us that suffering is an inevitable and essential part of life. He shows that by integrating sadness and other difficult emotions into our experience, we can grow and develop in more complete and healthy ways. The story of Riley, who learns to value and integrate her emotions, demonstrates that denying suffering is not the answer. Instead, we must accept sadness as part of the human journey and use these experiences to prepare us for eternity. The film invites us to reflect on the importance of facing our painful feelings instead of repressing them. He suggests that by allowing ourselves to feel sadness, anger, and fear, we can find a more authentic and balanced way of living. This process of accepting and integrating emotions prepares us not only to face the challenges of this life, but also to experience the eternal joy that is to come. This vision and the teaching of Inside Out converge to remind us that true strength lies in recognizing our weaknesses and depending on God. Facing the reality of suffering with courage and faith transforms us and brings us closer to Christ. The joy we experience now, interspersed with pain, is a preparation for the eternal joy that awaits us. Thus, by accepting and giving new meaning to our pain, we become stronger and more similar to our Creator, ready for eternity. If you like the content and want to help us continue, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment or suggestion about a book, film, series, anime that you want to see analyzed on the channel.